Welcome back to Adaptive Humans, the podcast for real talk and intentional growth. I'm your host, Jami de Lou. In our last episode of part one, When Cultures Collide, we talked about minimization and how downplaying differences might feel safe in the moment, but it actually costs us trust, clarity, and connection. Today, we're going deeper. This episode is all about how to grow your cultural intelligence, or your CQ for short. How we move from minimizing differences to actually bridging them. It's how we learn to adapt and not just see the world through our own lens, but through a multitude of lenses and perspectives and lived experiences of people. As a reminder, every episode of Adaptive Humans has three core segments: Beyond the Bio, Brave Enough Moment, and a Just Be Reset. Beyond the Bio. Part of why talking about this topic is so important to me is based on some of my own lived experiences that I've shared on the show, some of which I haven't shared yet, but also my experience at helping humans inside of workplaces. I've spent my career helping lead inclusion, talent, thinking about how to make communities and people more expansive and adaptive so that everyone can feel a sense of belonging. Everyone can have the same access to opportunities, engagement, everything that is in our day-to-day work lives. The workplaces that I've stepped into, especially professional service firms, were often shaped by dominant professional cultures where the makeup of the people were predominantly white and more predominantly men. The values of speaking up, moving fast, pushing for decisions, that's what got rewarded. And there were hidden codes. You were somehow supposed to know when not to push back, when to keep quiet, how to read veiled language and feedback. Like, for example, if someone told you your work was good, you had to know the code that actually meant you were not meeting expectations. So somehow, if someone told you you did a good job on something, where that might have had meaning of moving towards excellence in pursuit of all the things you're trying to do, it actually means you did a terrible job. But if you didn't know the code, you were left confused or misjudged in how you interpreted and took action on it. These types of collisions and understanding taught me how to see the unseen codes that shaped how we interpret one another. And these are just the business codes, the organizational structures and systems that are in place, but they're influenced by the dominant culture that's been created. And then when you put lots of different people inside of these organizations from different backgrounds and cultures and identities and linguistics and nuances, it can mean that cultures collide sometimes and we misunderstand and we misinterpret each other. And I've spent my career not only helping organizations, but I also work as a coach, working with leaders and their teams. And I've seen it again and again. When we interpret others only through our own lens or through the lens of the most dominant culture, we miss nuance. That's why cultural intelligence matters. Building cultural intelligence is how we create space for genuine collaboration, creativity, and innovation. CQ supports retention and engagement for all employees. So, what exactly is CQ? Cultural intelligence is the ability to shift perspectives and adapt behaviors across differences. CQ is often described and measured in 4 dimensions. CQ drive. Your CQ drive is when you display genuine curiosity about different cultures and you actively pursue ways to interact and overcome obstacles that might be perceived or really there. This could be where you lean into curiosity, or do you avoid what feels uncomfortable? CQ knowledge. This is where your understanding of values, norms, communication styles, it's not just the facts about cultures, but it's the insight of why cultures operate the way they do. So, knowing that in some cultures, yes is a sign of respect, not necessarily a complete agreement. CQ strategy. This is your ability to pause, check assumptions, and make sense of what's happening and being able to adjust your approach in cultural context. What that looks like is asking yourself, is this silence disengagement or a sign of respect? And then CQ action. This is your capacity to actually adapt behaviors in the moment without losing authenticity. This looks like flexing your verbal tone, gestures, pacing, body language to fit the cultural context, rather than expecting other people to only adapt to you. These four elements that make up your cultural intelligence are really meant to help you not only understand, but take action and adapt across a range of differences. And you might say, Jamie, this sounds easier said than done. And while I understand that can be true, there are little things that we can do every day to learn more about each other and to learn the skills to flex and adapt across differences. It not only makes us better humans, it makes us better colleagues, community members, and leaders. Brave enough moment. In part one, I shared how sometimes I defaulted to appeasing powerful partners instead of staying curious in the moment about the employees that I was supporting or leading. My nervous system went into fawn mode. This is where it might look like nodding along, trying to smooth things over, keeping the peace. In those moments, both my emotional intelligence and my cultural intelligence slipped up. After years of working through this for myself, to better understand my own nervous system regulation and my own cultural intelligence and emotional intelligence and ways of growth, I've also spent years coaching hundreds of leaders and team members. And based on all of this information, I've now created what I call the ADAPT framework. It's a roadmap for moments when cultures collide and your instincts pull you off track. It not only helps you build your cultural intelligence, but it also supports developing your emotional intelligence and figuring out what some of your key reactions and triggers are when your nervous system gets dysregulated. As humans, we are complex beings. When we react in the moment, it is not always from a place of clarity, but we can choose curiosity over assumption, even when our nervous system wants to react. It just takes practice. Remember, culture and identity are always in the room. Pretending that they're not there doesn't make them go away. Instead, it reinforces misunderstanding, creates silos, and reinforces systems that exclude instead of include. The Just Be reset. Now let's do a reset together. I shared the cultural reframe in part one, and I want to take you through those four steps one more time. First, pause. Catch yourself before reacting. Second, breathe. Shoulders down, inhale through the nose, exhale slowly. Reset your nervous system. Third, name the assumption. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself? Am I looking at silence as disengagement? Am I viewing directness as rudeness? Is urgency seen as respect? And fourth, bridge with curiosity. Turn that assumption into a question. Something like, I don't want to assume. Can you share what urgency means to you? Or how do you usually like to receive feedback? Now let's try it together. Inhale, exhale. Picture a recent misunderstanding. Now name the story you told yourself. Take that image of what you told yourself and reframe it into a curiosity question that you could ask someone. Remember, you're not always going to do this in the moment when you're with your colleagues, your team, or even your friends and family. Sometimes the awareness comes after the interaction. That's okay. We are all human. You can go back and say, hey, I may have made an assumption. Can we clarify before we move forward? Your willingness to reset within yourself and with others moves everyone from minimization to connection. Something that we definitely know to be true is that there's plenty of research studies and data that have proven that diversity drives innovation. What many don't know is that further data has also shown that diverse teams are not actually innovating because both the leader and the team don't know how to navigate the differences. The inclusive behaviors I shared today, like the ADAPT framework, are meant to help leaders and their teams learn behaviors that drive inclusion for everyone. Here's the truth. When cultures collide, it's rarely about difficult people. It's usually about unseen codes. CQ helps us notice and interpret those codes. EQ helps us respond with empathy. And our nervous system regulation keeps us steady enough to choose curiosity instead of reactivity. I'm sharing all of this because it matters in business, but also because businesses are made up of humans who are navigating a great deal of uncertainty and instability in our society right now, which ultimately finds its way into the workplace. People's psychological and physical safety are being impacted. We are seeing a range of communities affected, from anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ attacks, illegal kidnapping and disappearing of people who are and look Hispanic Latino, regardless of their status. And more than 350,000 Black women have been reduced from the workforce in the first 6 months of this year. These are just a few examples of the many communities that are being impacted right now. Inevitably, people in your workplace are being directly or indirectly impacted by all of this. So this week, notice one place where you might be minimizing. Try the cultural reframe instead of reacting, or use it to circle back with conversations that went sideways. And if you do, I'd love to hear about it. Share your reflections in the comments or send me a message. Next week, I'll be joined by Marnar Morales for a conversation about living your all, the power of connection. You won't want to miss this conversation. And as always, remember, I am brave, I am enough, I am brave enough, and so are you. This is Adaptive Humans, real talk, intentional growth.